Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Redefining Society and Technology podcast. As you know, here we talk about our relationship as human with technology and how we affect each other. I always like to say that it's a bad thing when we just follow the blinking lights and the funny noise and we do technologies just for the heck of it, just because we can. I rather think that we can do technology in a way that serves humanity, and we get a little philosophical here and there. And I think today we're going to get definitely philosophical about this book that we're talking about here with Jeff Burningham. And the book is called The Last Book Written by a Human. So if there isn't a story there already, I don't know, maybe even for a TV series, we'll pitch that to Hollywood. But that's in the next, that'll be the next step. Jeff, welcome to the show. I'm really excited about this.
Marco, it's great to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So the title for me it's already telling a story that I build in my head. That's as a writer. That's what I do as a creative person myself. But I don't want to start with a book. I want to start with you, the author, and tell our audience a little bit about who Jeff is and how you come about to decide to write this book.
Yeah, it's a big question, a great question.
Very essential, right?
Yeah, who are any of us, like where are we going? Who are we really? We talk about those things in the book, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. I grew up in Spokane, Washington in the Pacific Northwest in a large family. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. I grew up very conservatively Mormon. I have a background as a Mormon missionary, a Mormon bishop, so kind of this spiritual advisory background. But my career has been in technology, in entrepreneurship, I should say. I started a tech company as an undergrad at BYU. I grew that and sold it to a NASDAQ-listed firm I was in my mid-20s or so. Pivoted into real estate. I've grown a large real estate private equity firm, about $5 billion worth of assets. Grew that during the Great Recession. I'm a contrarian, so I kind of did technology during 9/11, the dot-com boom, bubble, and bust. And then I went into real estate, in the Great Recession. From there, spun up a venture capital fund, the first along the Silicon Slopes, it's called, here in Utah. It's a fast-growing tech corridor here in Utah. And then in 2019, I lost my mind and jumped into politics, not really having a background in politics, but something that I've always been interested in and followed a little bit. I ran for governor here in the state of Utah, lost that race during COVID. The most critical months of that campaign were actually March, April, May, and June of 2020. So right in the heart of COVID. So lost that race, and then had some space and time for the first time in my adult life, Marco. And I've always said that with time and space, anything can be created. You're never sure what might be created. And so what came through, what I've been working on the last several years, mainly, I've been teaching university students entrepreneurship, several thousand of those, and have my own podcast, etc. But the main thing I've been doing is working on this book, the last book written by a human, which is about humanity in the age of highly intelligent machines. So I've had several kind of careers, I guess you could say, but that's my rough background.
Well, I like that because I feel like, I like to say that we all live, when you get to a certain age, it doesn't necessarily need to be old, but you have experience enough that you are who you are because the experience that you had. And I feel like sometimes we get to a point where either we write a story, we write a book, we have a thought that it comes from different angles of experience that we had in our life. So you'd be dealing with technology, growing as a missionary, having that experience and pastor. I'm sure everything has been influencing what you ended up putting into this book. And sometimes books are already written in our mind before we even actually get to put them out. So I I want to start with this. Like, when did you decide to write this book, and then we get into the more philosophical aspect. Like, did you have a moment that you say, at this point in time, this book
Yeah.
is needed, and people need to read it?
Yeah. Let me tell you a little bit more of the story. About 7 years ago, I was in Varanasi, India, and that's actually where the book starts, on the river Ganges in the Varanasi, or on the Varanasi, or in Varanasi on the river Ganges. And I was there and I got woken up in the middle of the night. This, I'm sure, has happened to you, Marco, happens to all of us. There was a little voice in my head, the voice of, God or the universe, that kept saying, Jeff, you're a writer. Remember, you're a writer. And I kept kind of arguing with it. I'm not a writer. I'm running a large private equity firm. I'm running my venture capital fund. We were deploying a lot of money into tech startups. And so I had a little argument with us. And I think this is often the call to adventure is the first step on the hero's journey. And the second step is also often refusal of that call. And I kept saying, I'm not a writer. I'm not a writer. I don't have time. But that voice in my head wouldn't leave me alone. So that was maybe 2 a.m. I woke up. About 3 a.m. I got up and started clanking on the keyboard quietly. My wife, Sally, was sleeping in the same room, and typing, I don't know what. But I came back. So that was 2018. I came back, got busy with my startups, ran for governor in the state of Utah. And it wasn't until, like I said, I had that time and space. If you remember the summer of 2020, it was a hard time for people. COVID was
Yes.
ravaging the country. One of the benefits was there was time and space. And so I started doing a lot of research on the technology things that I'd missed while I was running for governor. And obviously the most interesting and pressing technology was AI. And so I started having some thoughts around that, started writing. But to finish up the story, it really wasn't until about 2 years ago, if you can believe it or not, I was in India again, actually, this time at a little city in southern India called Kerala, where I had this experience at this old Ayurvedic lodge. Ayurvedic medicine is some of the oldest medicine on the planet, been around for 5,000 years or so. And I had this experience where all I can say, Mark, my third eye blasted open and I would just start receiving these downloads. So I'd run to my room and just type for hours and hours. And at that point, I knew that I had to write the book. Like, I just couldn't put off the call anymore. I had kind of tried to. My background isn't writing. The book that I wrote is extremely vulnerable, personal, authentic. And so it's been a painful process of creation, as art often is. But that's when it became non-negotiable for me. A couple of years ago, I knew I had to write this book. And so a majority of my working hours the last 2 years have been spent on writing and then launching this book. So that's kind of the story.
Well, it's a good story, and I think what is really good to me, and that's why I was excited when it was proposed to me to have this podcast, is the title itself, and the fact that it looks to me as a self-reflection that humans need to pause and stop and look back, like writing fast, technology, and there is the risk to lose ourselves and our humanity into this. And I'm gonna say something that I observe a lot when I talk to technologists and futurists and cybersecurity people. I say we never talk about philosophy and ethics as much nowadays. Maybe in the antique Greek, in the classic Greek and Roman, maybe yes. But lately, AI really allowed us to go back into reflect on who we really are, what would make us human, and
Yes.
and what AI means. Are we losing? Are we merging with robotics and computers? So it's a big philosophical conversation. And I feel like just your title, it very encompass all of this in my opinion in one sentence, and then you say becoming wise in the age of AI. So your turn.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that, Marco. I agree with you. Yeah, I think the book title, I wrote the book as if almost like a breadcrumb for myself, or if I were just to find myself in 2025 existing on Earth and trying to wrap my head around what is happening here. Who am I really? What is reality? What is AI and how is this going to impact me? This is the book I would want to stumble across. I wrote the book that I would want to read. And I certainly don't have all the answers, but let me just say two key things that I think you kind of said. But number one, if you were to hammer down the thesis of the book in one sentence, it would be that as our machines become more intelligent, our work as humans is to become more wise.
Yep.
Period. And I believe, secondly, that AI is a cosmic mirror to humanity. We all need reflections. Like, we can't see ourselves without a reflection. Guess what? AI in the years to come is going to provide a very interesting mirror to who we have become as humans. We get to then sit with that reflection and decide what we do with it. Do we like what we see? What do we want to change? Do we not want to change? My thesis, though, or my belief is that if we don't become less divided, if we don't focus on the things that we have in common, the purposes of AI won't, let's say, be fulfilled. I think that AI will lead to further, I'll say, destruction, as we've kind of seen with the first example of AI in social media, first kind of global example. But if we lean into the best of ourselves, if we can bring our presence and awareness to the development of this technology, I think that it can lead to unbelievable human flourishing for more of us. And so my argument in the book is, as our machines become more wise, we must become more intelligent. As our machines do more and more of what we're used to doing, what are we left with? We're left with our being. And that's who we are, Marco. We're human beings, not human doings. And so as we come back to our being, I think that's a key for us to remember, like I said, who we really are, why we're really here, and the beautiful future that we could build together, with the help of AI.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking as you're speaking, because the mirror metaphor, it's really the key. And I have been having generative AI in creativity, in the creative field, discussions for at least 2 years now, and a year and a half since when we all had access to ChatGPT in many different forms. And when people criticize ChatGPT and the machine learning and all the knowledge base that it gets, my question normally to people is, what do you think AI learned? All of that, right? I mean, it's reflecting us.
Amen. It just
Right?
consumes all of our data and all of our behavior and then reflects it back to it. Yes. Yeah, it's from us.
So isn't that mirror that in a way you're referring to?
Absolutely. It is a mirror, and it's going to become more sophisticated. It's going to be able to pick up patterns in data that the human mind cannot. It's going to become, I'll say, more and more intelligent. And I think it will provide this opportunity for us to come back to ourselves and to rehumanize. I believe that the real work for us as humans in this, age of AI, of highly intelligent machines, isn't to do more, it's to be more. It's to answer this call, this heroic journey that I think we're all individually on, as well as, let's say, the collective human journey, to remind us of the beauty that we can create here together. I think that each of us has art inside of us, whether that's through a podcast like this, Marco, or using generative AI to create images, or we were speaking about Mr. Brainwash, before
Yeah.
we started this, who's a well-known street artist in your neighborhood. He lives in Beverly Hills, but who did the cover for this book, or whether it's writing a book. I viewed this book as a little piece of art, my offering to the divine, to talk about, I think, what is the most critical issue that will be facing humanity over the next decade.
Yeah. Can you tell us, tell me and the audience some of the way that you structured this book? So what can people expect? Is it like, I know it's a reflection, but is it in a narrative form? Is it in a story form? Is it a more, what is it? What people can expect?
Yeah, the book is broken up into 4 sections, and these are the growth cycle of technology. These sections represent the growth cycle of technology. I've seen this at hundreds and thousands of times. I've invested in hundreds of technology companies in my career. And what's interesting, Marco, is that growth cycle in technology mirrors our personal growth cycle in existence. It really mirrors the hero's journey, which is how we become wise. So here is the rough 4 sections of the book which follow this cycle. Number 1 is disruption. That's, like I said, this call to adventure. As we know, change is the only constant. And that speed of change seems to be picking up in the age of AI. So we're all going to be disrupted. We're all going to have challenges. This transformation will come through pain, but that's the first step, both in the technology growth cycle as well as our heroic journey. The second part is reflection. So we're able to reflect on what we see. Oftentimes, for individuals or on the hero's journey, this includes a refusal of the call, like I said. I believe that AI is calling us to be more. Even if we do less, to be more. That doesn't mean that doing will go away, by the way, let me just say. That means being more present in whatever we do. So when we connect with another human being, we do it presently. We do it with love, ease, and grace. So the second step in this cycle is reflection. And I talk about AI as the cosmic mirror in that section. The third step is transformation. That's when you enter the unknown. This is our collective heroic journey. I talk in the book about the old game versus a new game. An old game where cash was currency, power was the motivation, and control was maybe the reason. I think that old game is crescendoing for us as humans. If you add the power of AI on top of the division, greed, and hate that currently exists in our world, I'm not too optimistic about the long-term future for humans. So I think we need a new game. And I argue or say in the book that in this new game, the currency is karma, not cash. That the motivation is authenticity, being our true selves, not power over others. And the reason is love, not control. It's love. So anyways, talk a lot about the universe in this section of the book and about transformation. And then lastly, the 4th section of the book is evolution. And I talk honestly about a return to wisdom, and mainly I would say the 5 main institutions that exist for us. That is human relationship. That's going to become increasingly difficult in an age of AI, where we're spending more and more time with our digital devices. When we have more and more of a relationship with the AI we use, we need to remember that love and wisdom comes from messy human relationship, embodied wisdom. So I talk about how our families and our closest relationships aren't really in the way, they are the way. I talk about education, reforming education, religion, talk about reforming religion. And my main question for that chapter is, in the age of highly intelligent machines, what special belief or practice should really get in the way of human connection and community? We need more human connection. We need more human community in the future we're going to. And so my argument is that religion should focus on those things, not petty differences, but on what drives us together. The last two, real quick, I know this has been a long answer. The last two, I talk about conscious capitalism, how business needs to change. I think that if power is concentrated in a couple of winners with AI, it's not like there'll be some winners and some losers. We all lose. If AI is controlled by a couple large corporations, we all lose. And then the last thing I talk about, based on my background, is politics. I talk about a human political movement, how we need to be focused, obviously, less on division and more on human flourishing. So there's a long explanation, but an outline of the book as it goes.
Wow. I have a feeling I'm going to have you back, because this is a lot.
Yeah,
It's a lot to talk about, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, it's hard to pick. I mean, you touched on a lot of different aspects, and what it really kept coming back in my mind, because you referred to it, is that the Joseph Campbell hero's journey, which is part of every story, from Star Wars to Harry Potter to whatever you want to call it. That's how we tell stories. That's how we feel the stories as human, and there is a difficulty, we overcome it. It almost, the way you presented it, it's almost, I'm going to go in this direction. It's almost that this coming of the AI, it was almost inevitable.
Yes. It was.
That's kind of like what I got from, amongst other things. So it's kind of like it's that part of the journey that maybe we needed, because we were kind of going off path.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to see it. Another good way to look at the book is, this is the bull case for AI, meaning the optimistic case. Let me just tell you, between two friends, and I guess your listeners, it's not easy to be optimistic.
No.
I'm not saying that this is going to be easy. I'm not saying that the outcome is assured. In fact, it's not. What I am saying is the outcome is up to us as humans. And what AI becomes is ultimately up to us. And I believe that AI is the tool. It is the crucible, Marco, that humanity will pass through here in the next decade. And we'll either come out the other side a better humanity, more of us flourishing, more love, or we'll come out in a much worse spot with more division, more destruction. I think the tool, the cosmic mirror, is ready. What we become is up to us. So yeah, I do think that there was, I'd say, a divine hand in all of this. There is a divine design, in my opinion, to the universe, to evolution. And AI is our next dance partner in this evolution. But we need to lead this dance with wisdom, love, and grace.
Well, for people that are watching the video on YouTube, my background has been this for a while, and it's a very utopian view of some city, right? Sci-fi. But if people that listen to me, they also know I can go utopian to dystopian in about half of a second, because
Yep.
there is always that different angle, that other side, right? And with
Yes.
technology, like when we say it's a tool, and AI, it is, again, a tool. It's up to us how we use it. There is always a double sword, and the big question to me, that's when I get dystopian, is, are we prepared to handle this? Do we know how to handle it? Because I mean, this is a lot of question, a lot of reflection, which is very typical of my podcast. I always say you're going to leave with a lot of questions, and always, hopefully you will think about it. But do you have some suggestions, some advice, some way that you think we could? Is it regulation? It is, I don't know. Is that,
Yeah.
I don't want you to give up the end of the book. Is there
That's
some,
okay.
based on your technology experience and all the things you've seen, is there a suggested path for the hero to come out as a winner and as a hero?
Yeah, there is. It's interesting, Marco, how I found in my life, I don't know if you found in yours, but the most powerful ideas are often the most simple
Mm.
and therefore the most neglected, by the way. So I'm going to give you an answer, a high level answer to start that you may like or not. The answer's already within the hero. The hero already has the answers. So the number one thing to do in the age of AI is for us to go inside ourselves, for us to stop looking so much outside of ourselves, but to go inside, to find our own essence and being, and then to lean into that with all our heart and might. Again, a simple idea, but it's the most powerful idea. The answers are within us. They're already there. We need to remember them. And I think we can only do that by one, even if our outside lives speed up, we need to slow down. We as individuals need to slow down. So we need to bake in practices, whatever those are for us, meditation, yoga, hot, cold therapy, whatever, there's a whole list of them. We need to bake in routine to help us slow down so that we can go inside ourselves and remember who we really are and what reality really is. And then we use that knowledge and information to inform how we engage with AI, to inform how we build AI, like I said, for human flourishing rather than human destruction. So there's a first high level thought. Do you want me to go to a second?
Sure, go.
We need as much in real life experiences as we can. So I don't know what you love to do, Marco. It might be church, it might be running, it might be cycling, it might be cooking. Do that with other human beings as much as possible. We need to stay connected. One thing that AI does not have, at least right now, is a body. And within our bodies is so much wisdom that we often neglect. Again, we neglect some of the most powerful ideas because they're right in front of our faces or they seem like the most simple. But our body contains powerful wisdom. This is an advantage that we have over AI. So anytime we can get back into our body, get into what I'll call a flow state, especially with other human beings, that's good for us. So lean into real human relationship. Our digital devices and AI is here to stay. We can't stop that train. It's running. It's going to happen. What will differentiate, I think, good leaders from not so good leaders in the future is how we integrate our humanity with the technology that is there to help us to do many things that we've done in the past in a more efficient and effective way. So there's two ideas, simple ideas, things that we could go to help us in the age of AI.
Yeah, I mean, I love that. And I'm kind of picturing that to listen to our body and to be together. You mentioned the communities before when you were talking about, the disruption, the reflection. I think right now we are in the reflection phase and transformation. I think we're right there. But when we get to the evolution, maybe there is that simple answer to look back at what human needs to be, which to me, is also embrace imperfection instead of always looking for perfection, because that's exactly when we do creative things and we interact with generative AI, it almost sounds like it's too perfect. And even the things it writes, it's a great brainstorming tool for me when
Yeah.
I write, but it's not the answer. It's not the easy button. Is remembering that in the imperfection, even in the music itself, it's okay if you miss a chord or touch another string on the guitar. I don't want to hear that perfection. I want the vinyl where I hear a little scratch here and there than the digital music. But I'm a Generation X, so
Yeah.
uh,
I love that perspective, though. That's where the beauty of life is, Marco.
mhm.
And that's where the beauty of life will be. We're going to realize that our messiness and imperfection is where the beauty lies. Because as our machines become more intelligent and more efficient, we could follow the same path of just becoming efficient robots to getting tasks done. And we've lost all the beauty that there is in actually living and in being. See, this is what AI is going to remind us, I think, of the beauty in being, Marco, the beauty in being imperfect, the beauty in the messiness of relationship and those things. And I think we will go back to those things. My bet, and obviously, again, I'm trying to be an optimist, but my bet or goal, my bet for humanity is a massive renaissance of consciousness over the next decade. Yeah. I think that's what I see coming. That's what I feel inside of me. I could, of course, be wrong. We could choose a different path. But if we don't choose this renaissance of consciousness, we might be in trouble. I worry about my children. I have 4 children. I worry about my grandchildren. I'm a grandpa. I have one grandson. He's 1 year old. I worry about those things if we don't lean in to presence, if we don't become more aware and conscious.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And you know what I'm also noticing as we're closing here, you choose a title, and I have your website open right here. You're holding the book, and it says "The Last Book Written by a Human." I feel like from what you said is that you wanted to challenge and put kind of fear, tell me if I'm wrong, and say, this is the last book written by a human, but it is our call. It's not necessarily the last one, but we need to step it up and keep writing this book ourselves as a human.
Yeah. Amen. I love that. Thank you, Marco. Exactly. Of course, this book launches August 19th. Right. This 2025. This won't be the last book written by a human, but it could be, or could be close to the last one, so to speak, if we don't answer the call. Exactly. If we don't write our own story, if we don't rehumanize ourselves and bring the best of ourselves to the development of AI and to the reformation of the institutions that have long governed our world. This is the work ahead of us in the decades to come. And it's a call to that. It is a call to that. And again, the main thing I thought about with the title was, this is the book I'd kind of want to stumble upon in August of 2025 to get a grasp of what's going on and where things are going. And so, yeah, that's what the book entails. And I'm glad you like the title. And, although it won't be the last book, at least I hope it won't be the last book, it's a book for us to write together, to continue to write together.
I love that. Well, Jeff, it's been an amazing conversation. Definitely the kind of conversations I love to have, because it touched on so many. We talked about technology without even going technical. And I like that. We used the other perspective, and it's the human one. So I'm looking forward to listen to this book. Maybe, if you want, you'll come back in a few months and we can talk more about it. We'll see where we're standing. Again, I really enjoyed it. The last book written by a human, Jeff Burningham, coming out August 19th. And I hope people enjoyed it, have a lot of questions, reflect on what we said, maybe get the book. Of course, that's a good thing. And I'm gonna keep having this conversation on this podcast because it's called redefining society and technology for a reason, right? We need to redefine. I could have used change. I could use a lot of different words, but I think it's a redefinition in the way that we look at many things, from privacy. It's a different world, and we
Yes,
need to adapt. And you said it, change is the only constant, and
it is.
I can't stop repeating that myself.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. I invite
Yeah,
everybody
Marco.
again to subscribe to the podcast, to the YouTube channel if they're watching that, and stay tuned for so much more. Jeff, thank you very, very
Marco, it's great to be with you. Can I just say that's exactly what I wanted to have happen? This book is meant to be a conversation starter, and for any of your listeners, I would love to continue the conversation. I'm at Jeff Burningham on all the social handles, and my website is just jeffburningham.com. So let's continue the conversation
Yep.
because there is a lot of work to do, and I believe that we can do it together. So thank you, Marco. It's good to be with you today.
I agree, and I'll have all the links to connect with you, of course, in the notes for podcast and video. So thanks, everybody. Stay tuned. Keep thinking, questioning everything. The only way ahead. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Marco.